Okay, so welcome to the first video that I'm making about working on 360s. This is going to be a small series of working on 360s and teaching you about 360s in general, and maybe at home do some DIY repairs and getting the proper equipment for repairing your 360s. Now, I'm on my bed, so I would not recommend taking these apart on this stuff right here because this has static electricity and it might ruin your console. So I recommend doing repairs on like a hard flat table surface or workbench or whatever the case might be. So the purpose of the first video is very simple. Identifying your 360. Now there's many models out there, but we're only going to be focusing on the fat models. Now, the fat models are these right here. They're the fat models. They're the originals that were made from late 2005 to maybe early 2010 before the Slim came out. And if you don't know what a Slim is, that's a Slim right there, that black one. So we're not talking about those. I don't work on those. That's the only one I have. It's the only one I've ever owned or taken apart. So we're only going to be talking about these. Now, what you first need to know is the red ring of death. Yes, I know, pretty scary, but I'll teach you the knowledge behind a console's reliability because some seem to be more reliable than others, and I'll explain that as we go along. Also, I'll teach you how to repair properly stuck disc trays, change thermal paste, replace parts, clean your console and service them. You name it. So with hopefully this guide and series of videos will help you to understand what the 360s are all about. These models right here, and their value, and repairing stuff and keeping your consoles healthy, stuff like that. So there are 5 different motherboards for these consoles. There's Xenon, Zephyr, Falcon, Opus, and Jasper. Now, I'm going to show you all the little differences about each console, and I'll tell you the reliability. The first one we have is actually this one right here. This one is a Xenon. These are all different motherboards, by the way, and I'm showing you what's the differences of them. This is a Xenon. This is the first motherboard produced, and it was very prone to the red ring of death. And that's because the GPU has lead-free solder that was very, very cheap, and these consoles got really, really hot. And every time it cooled down and heated back up and cooled down and heated back up, the connections broke. So that led to the console failures. Now, the real fix is to put a new GPU in it that's better and more reliable, and then they'll be alright. So really, there is a way to make these reliable if you replace the GPU. And they are out there. They are out there. You just gotta find them. And I'll show you what to look for when it comes to that later on in the series. Because Microsoft did actually repair some of these. So, this is a Xenon, and the first thing you'll notice is the manufacture date. Now, you cannot always go off the manufacture date because the shell could have been swapped with a different console and vice versa. This one's made in 2006. There were no other boards made back then, so that's kind of like one of the first indicators. The second indicator is that there's only an AV port. All of the newer boards after this one have an HDMI port with the AV port. This one does not have an HDMI port, so it is a Xenon. Actually, one of the boards have no HDMI. We'll get into all this, okay? Ignore the warranty sticker part. Just pay attention to the no HDMI part. And then, if you look closely at the charge port here, or the plug-in port, power port, whatever you want to call it, this is a power port. Now, there's a small picture that shows you the differences between the power ports in each of the models. The Zephyr uses the same one as this one, 203 watt power port. So you can see there's a little rectangle in the middle area. So you see a little square right there in the middle. Pay attention to that. So this is a xenon. You can tell by the power port and by this right here. So here we have a xenon. Now, like I said, the Zephyrs have a same power port. Here is a Zephyr. The Zephyr came out on April 14th, 2007, I believe. So this is what it looks like. It looks like, I know I kind of drew that on there. So, how to tell if it's a Zephyr? Oh yeah, the sticker's gone. So Zephyrs were made in 2007, 2008 era, and as you can see, it's got an HDMI port. So that's kind of the first clue. But Jaspers and Falcons have the HDMI port as well. It has the same power port as a Xenon, so that tells you that this is in fact a Zephyr. So that's how you tell if it's a Zephyr. Now here we have a Falcon. So here is a Falcon. It looks just like the other ones. So here's the back of it. It's got an HDMI port, of course. And down here, you see that little rectangle is not here on this power port. This power port's different. So that tells you that this is a Falcon. It's not a Zephyr, it's a Falcon. Pretty simple so far. And then here we have a Jasper. This one, ignore the color. The color does not matter. The only it's just an elite model, so the color doesn't really tell you anything different. The only thing it tells you is that it's not a Xenon. The Xenons did not come in this color, but all the other ones did. Or opposite. We'll get into the opus in a minute. So this is the Jasper. This is actually my first console that I've ever owned. It's got the HDMI port, again, you know. It's been there, done that. Now down here, you're going to notice that the charge port is a little bit different again from the Falcon. I'll show you the difference if you can spot it. Okay, so look at this. Falcon. Jasper. Do you see the difference yet? If you said that this little line has a break in it right there, you're correct. See this line? It's a straight line. So, it's Falcon. This line, it's broken. It's a Jasper. That's how you tell if it's Jasper. Now, there's one more board that I've never actually owned, or I don't have one yet. It's called an Opus. Now, an Opus is basically a Xenon that's been refurbished by Microsoft and turned into a Falcon, but with no HDMI port. So, an Opus will have a 2008 era manufacture date on here. No HDMI port, but it will have the power port of a Falcon. So that's how you find an Opus. They're kind of rare. They're not easy to find. And etc. So I hope that kind of clears up how to identify the motherboards of each console. So in the next video, I'll show you how to take one of these apart properly and not leave stuff like this behind. So you see this right here? That's because someone didn't know what they were doing. So I'll have to show you how to do that. So that's it for the first video, and I'll tell you how to take apart a 360 the proper way in the next video.